There is a hidden truth about wealth that 95% of people will never discover in their entire existence. This truth is not hidden by chance or evil, but by human inability to perceive the obvious when it is before our eyes. Most lives seeking prosperity anyway, jumping from opportunity to opportunity, sacrificing their essence for money, believing in lucky breaks, or lamenting their bad fortune. This desperate crowd never realizes that wealth, like everything else in the universe, operates according to precise and immutable laws. Wallace D. Wattles, one of the greatest prosperity teachers, revealed more than a century ago, there's a science of getting rich, and it is an exact science. Like algebra or arithmetic, there are certain laws which govern the process of acquiring wealth. And once these laws are learned and obeyed, a man will become rich with mathematical certainty. Look carefully at these words, mathematical certainty. There is no room for doubts or uncertainties. Wealth is not a game of roulette where your luck determines your destiny. It's an equation where each variable can be controlled by you. But here's the deeper secret, this. Science requires you to act in a certain way, not any way. Just as water only boils at 100 degrees Celsius, not 99 or 101. Just as a seed only germinates under specific conditions. Wealth only flourishes when you precisely follow its laws. Reflect for a moment. How many times have you tried to achieve prosperity by following random paths? How many times have you jumped from method to method, from guru to guru, without consistent results? It's like trying to open a lock by testing any key you can find when there's only one specific key that will open it easily. This fundamental revelation transforms everything. There's a clear and direct path to wealth, while all other paths are confusing and full of traps. The first step to walking this path is recognizing its existence. The second is to understand the immutable laws that govern you. What you are about to discover is not another vague theory or philosophy about prosperity. It's an exact science with verifiable laws that work regardless of your belief in them, just like gravity works whether you believe in it or not. The difference is that when you know these laws and apply them consciously, they work in your favor instead of simply operating while you remain ignorant about them. The science of getting rich does not require extraordinary talents or favorable circumstances. It does not require you to be smarter, stronger, or more privileged than others. It simply requires that you think, feel, and act in a certain way. The way that is in harmony with the natural laws of prosperity. Nature does not operate by chance. The universe is governed by laws that are as immutable as they are precise. The apple doesn't decide to fall when it leaves the tree. It obeys the law of gravity. Oxygen does not choose to combine with hydrogen to form water. It follows the laws of chemistry. Likewise, wealth does not prefer certain people over others. It flows according to specific laws that few know about and even fewer apply correctly. Wallace D. Wattles identified three fundamental laws that govern the acquisition of wealth: the law of attraction, the law of abundance, and the law of deliberate action. These are not human inventions, but eternal principles that were operating long before they were discovered. The law of attraction states that like attracts like, your thoughts, charged with the energy of your emotions, are magnetic forces that attract corresponding circumstances. When you constantly think about limitation, scarcity, and financial problems, you are activating this law to manifest more of these experiences. When you direct your mind towards abundance, opportunities, and solutions, the same law works to materialize these realities. The law of abundance reveals that we live in a universe of unlimited supply. There is no real scarcity, just unequal distribution based on misapplication of the laws of prosperity. The air we breathe does not run out. It is available in abundance to everyone. Likewise, the potential for wealth is unlimited. It is not necessary to take from someone for you to have enough. The law of deliberate action dictates that thought without action is just a dream, and action without directed thought is just movement without purpose. True manifestation occurs when you act inspired by a clear vision, efficiently and progressively. At the heart of these laws is a revolutionary concept that Wattles called original thinking substance. He wrote, "There is a thinking substance of which all things are made, and which, in its original state, pervades, penetrates, and fills the interstices of the universe. A thought in this substance produces the thing which is imagined by the thought. This means that the universe is not just composed of matter, but of an intelligent substance that responds to thought. It is like an infinite ocean of potential, waiting to be shaped by conscious minds that understand its laws. A seed contains the potential to become a majestic tree, but this potential only manifests itself when the seed is planted in the correct soil, in the appropriate season, and with the necessary care. If you plant an apple seed expecting to harvest oranges, you will be disappointed, not because the law failed, but because you applied it incorrectly. Likewise, your potential for wealth only manifests when you apply the laws of prosperity correctly, thinking, feeling, and acting in a certain way. The universe does not respond to your hard work, your kindness, or your needs. He responds to your harmony with his laws. When you learn to tune into these laws, wealth flows to you as naturally as water flows down a hill, without effort, without struggle, simply by following the path of least resistance. These laws work with mathematical perfection when you follow them with mathematical perfection. There is no room for almost certain, or more or less. It's like typing a password. A single digit wrong and the door stays closed no matter how close you get. Most people apply these laws inconsistently and partially, obtaining inconsistent and partial results. They convince themselves that the law of attraction doesn't work, when in fact they are using it incorrectly, like someone who drops out of math because they added to +2 and got 5. Thought is the original creative force of the universe. Everything that exists in the material world first existed as thought. Every building, every device, every work of art, it all started as an idea in someone's mind. Wealth follows the same principle. It must first exist in your mind, before it manifests itself in your bank account. But not just any type of thinking produces wealth. It must be thought a certain way, clear, concentrated, and consistent. Wallace D. Wattles emphasized, thought is the only power that can produce tangible wealth. From amorphous substance. The substance of which all things are made is a thinking substance. And a thought of form, and this substance produces form. Right thinking operates on 3 levels: clarity, conviction, and continuity. Clarity means visualizing exactly what you want, in vivid detail. It's not enough to think I want more money. That's vague and produces vague results. Instead, visualize precisely how much money, for what purpose, in what time frame. See it, feel it, experience it mentally as if it were already reality. Conviction is the unshakable certainty that what you visualize is already yours on the mental plane, and is manifesting on the physical plane. It's not hope or desire, it's absolute certainty, like your certainty that the sun will rise tomorrow. Doubt is a short circuit in the creative process. Faith is the perfect driver. Continuity is keeping that clear and convinced thought constant, day after day, hour after hour, without allowing contradictory thoughts of doubt or fear to interrupt you. Like a vigilant gardener, you do not allow weeds to grow in your mental garden. Consider 2 entrepreneurs facing the same market. One thinks in terms of competition. How can I beat my competitors? How can I get a bigger share of the market? The other thinks in terms of creation. How can I create more value? How can I serve more people in ways that no one else is serving? The first fights for a fixed cake. The second creates a bigger cake for everyone. Competitive thinking comes from the belief in scarcity. The idea that there isn't enough to go around, so you must fight for what there is. Creation thinking comes from understanding abundance. The recognition that the universe is infinite in its potential, and that you can create new value without taking from anyone. A powerful exercise is to imagine that you already have what you want, not as fantasy, but as a deliberate practice of mental tuning. When you get up in the morning, spend a few minutes mentally experiencing the feeling of having already achieved your financial goals. How do you feel? How do you breathe? How does it move? What do you say to yourself? Embody these qualities now, not when external circumstances change. Thinking in a certain way is not positive in the superficial sense. It's not repeating empty affirmations while your heart doubts. It's aligning your entire being, conscious and subconscious, with the truth of abundance. It's systematically clearing the mental and emotional blocks that impede your natural flow of prosperity. As Wattles wrote, thought is the only force that can produce tangible wealth from amorphous substance. This is a revolutionary statement. It's not your hard work, your connections, or your education that produce wealth. It's your thinking that directs you to manifest prosperity. But thought without the next element is just dreaming. To materialize, thought needs to be energized by the power of feeling. There's a profound difference between thinking intellectually about wealth and emotionally embodying the state of abundance. It's the difference between knowing the path and walking the path. It's the difference between understanding the chemical formula of water and quenching your thirst. Feeling is the catalyst that energizes thought and prepares it for manifestation. A thought without emotion is like a seed without water. It has potential, but it remains dormant. An emotionally charged thought vibrates with creative power, communicating directly with the thinking substance that Wattles described. The most powerful feeling to attract prosperity is gratitude. Not the superficial gratitude of words, but the deep gratitude that rises from the heart and permeates your entire being. Wallace D. Wattles emphasized, many people who order their lives correctly in all other respects remain poor because of their lack of gratitude. Gratitude instantly connects you to the state of abundance, because it is impossible to feel true gratitude and scarcity simultaneously. When you are genuinely grateful, you are affirming I have. When you complain or worry, you are stating I don't have enough, and the universe always confirms your dominant belief. Consider the story of Anna, an ordinary woman living in challenging financial circumstances. She discovered the power of gratitude and began practicing it daily, not just for what she already had, but for what was on the way. Each morning and each evening, she took time to feel deep gratitude for her prosperous future, visualizing it so vividly that she could feel the emotions associated with it. In 3 months, his life began to transform. Unexpected opportunities appeared. People who could help her came into her life. His creativity blossomed, generating ideas that increased his income. It was no coincidence. It was the law of gratitude in action. Unshakable faith is another essential component of right feeling. It is not blind faith, but trust based on an understanding of the immutable laws that govern prosperity. It is knowing that when you plant an oak seed in fertile soil, an oak will grow. Not a pine, not a bush, but precisely an oak. Likewise, when you plant thoughts and feelings of prosperity in thinking substance, prosperity will grow, not by coincidence or luck, but by natural law. Are you grateful for what you don't yet see as if it were already manifested? This is the essence of feeling in a certain way. Feeling gratitude for the desired future as if it were already present. It's like paying in advance for something, guaranteeing its delivery. Think of your emotional state as a radio that must be tuned to the correct frequency to receive the desired signal. If you want to receive the abundant station, you must tune into the gratitude and faith frequency. If your radio is tuned to worry and scarcity, you will receive this programming regardless of how much you desire abundance. Gratitude is not a response to what you have. It is the path to what you want. It is not the result of prosperity. It's your cause. When you understand this, you realize that you can feel grateful now, regardless of external circumstances. And this feeling will become a powerful magnet for manifesting more reasons for gratitude. Right thinking and right feeling are essential, but incomplete without the third pillar of the science of getting rich, right action. There's a way of acting that inevitably leads to prosperity, and there's any other way that leads to mediocre results or even failure. Action in a certain way is not simply being busy. Many people confuse activity with productivity, movement with progress. They take pride in their long hours of work, their sacrifices, their sweat, without realizing that they are applying too much force in the wrong place, like trying to knock down a door by pushing on the side of the hinges. Wallace D. Wattles made a critical distinction. There's a difference between acting a certain way and acting any way. There's one way of doing things that produces results, and there are countless ineffective ways. Right action has 4 distinct qualities. It is preparatory, timely, efficient, and progressive. Preparatory action means constantly developing the skills, knowledge, and connections necessary for your success. It's sharpening the axe before cutting down the tree. It's the farmer preparing the soil before planting the seed. Timely action is recognizing and seizing the perfect moment. There are tides in life that, when harnessed, lead to fortune. The person who acts the right way is present and intuitive enough to recognize these moments and act without hesitation when they arise. Efficient action focuses on quality, not quantity. It's about doing only what is necessary in the best possible way, without wasting energy. It's like the artist who, with a few precise strokes, creates more impact than another with 1,000 unnecessary brushstrokes. Progressive action means that each step leads naturally to the next in a constant escalation. You don't jump from the bottom of the mountain to the top, you climb consistently. One step after the other, each one building on the last. Consider the story of John, an entrepreneur who learned the difference between desperate action and confident action. At the beginning of his journey, he worked frantically, chasing any opportunity, taking on any client, sacrificing his health and relationships in the name of success. Despite all this effort, it remained financially stagnant. Then he discovered the science of getting rich and started acting a certain way. Instead of scattering his energy, he focused deeply on creating exceptional value in a specific area. Instead of accepting any client, he selected those who truly valued his work. Instead of working out of exhaustion, he worked with inspiration and efficiency. The result? In less than a year, his income tripled while his working time halved. Not because he was lucky, but because he applied the law correctly. A fundamental principle of right action is what Wattles called present action, doing the best you can with what is available now, where you are. Many people delay action until conditions are perfect, not realizing that perfect conditions are created by imperfect action consistently taken. If you wait until you have all the information, all the resources, all the connections before taking action, you will never start. The person who acts the right way understands that the first step is rarely clear or perfect, but is necessary to reveal the second step, which reveals the third, and so on. Wattles stated with conviction, do, every day, everything that can be done that day. It's not about exhaustion, but about completion. Not putting off until tomorrow what can be done today, not out of anxiety, but out of a commitment to progressive excellence. The difference between mediocrity and genius is doing things a certain way. Genius does not necessarily work harder, but it works better, with perfect alignment between thought, feeling, and action. It's like the difference between heating water to 99 degrees Celsius for hours and heating it to 100 degrees for a minute. Just 1 degree of difference. But only at 100 degrees do we transform water into steam, capable of moving locomotives. Even knowing the principles of the science of getting rich, many people find themselves stuck in patterns of financial limitations. Not because the science is flawed, but because there are subtle and powerful blocks that prevent its correct application. Like water encountering obstacles on its natural path to the sea, our natural prosperity encounters barriers that we must consciously identify and remove. There are 7 main blocks that silently sabotage the process of prosperity: doubt, impatience, comparison, attachment to form, fear, financial guilt, and inconsistency. Doubt is perhaps the most destructive. It is the poison that neutralizes the creative force of thought. When you plant a seed in the ground and then repeatedly dig it up to see if it is growing, you interrupt its natural development. Likewise, when you set a clear intention and then repeatedly question it with thoughts like, is this really going to work? You sabotage your manifesting power. Doubt often disguises itself as critical thinking or realism. She whispers, be practical, don't fool yourself, keep your feet on the ground. But there is a crucial difference between wise discernment and toxic doubt. Discernment evaluates evidence without undermining your faith. Doubt erodes your conviction without offering constructive alternatives. Impatience arises from a lack of understanding of how time works in the manifestation process. Just as a pregnancy takes 9 months, no matter how anxious the parents are, the manifestation of wealth follows its own natural schedule. Forcing the process only creates resistance and frustration. Wallace D. Wattles warned, "You cannot sow today and reap tomorrow." The cultivation of wealth is like the growth of a plant. It is a gradual, continuous process. The impatient person often abandons the correct path just before the point of manifestation, like someone who gives up on heating water when it is 99 degrees, without realizing that a few more moments of perseverance will lead to the boiling point. Comparison diverts your creative energy by focusing it on external circumstances, rather than your internal power. When you compare yourself to others, whether to feel superior or inferior, you leave the state of creation and enter the state of reaction. Comparison feeds both ego and insecurity, both of which are fatal to the process of authentic manifestation. Form attachment is insisting that your wealth must come through specific channels. It's like asking for a gift, but rejecting the delivery because it arrived in a different box than what you imagined. The universe responds to your essential intention, not the specific details of how you think it should manifest. Many people block their prosperity because they are fixated on receiving it in a particular way, through a specific promotion, a certain investment, or a single business path. The person who understands a certain way maintains clarity about what they want, but flexibility about how it will get to them. Fear is another powerful block, manifesting as anxiety about the future, insecurity about your abilities, or worry about potential loss. Fear contracts, while prosperity demands expansion. It is impossible to attract abundance from a state of contraction. It would be like trying to take a deep breath while keeping your chest compressed. Financial guilt is a particularly insidious blockage that affects many spiritually inclined people. It is the belief that there is something inherently wrong with desiring material wealth, that money is somehow impure or spiritually inferior. This false dichotomy between spirituality and material prosperity keeps many well-meaning souls trapped in unnecessary financial limitations. The truth is that wealth, when acquired and used in a certain way, is a natural expression of spiritual abundance. As Wattles wrote, "Man was made for abundance, for advancement and growth. To deny these expressions is to deny the purpose of life." Inconsistency is applying the principles of the science of getting rich sporadically, rather than systematically. It's like watering a plant heavily for a day and then forgetting about it for weeks. Results come from constant application, not occasional efforts, no matter how intense. Ask yourself honestly, which of these blocks is currently most active in your life? Awareness is the first step towards dissolution. Once you have identified the predominant blockage, you can apply the specific technique to neutralize it. For doubt, cultivate evidence-based faith by studying stories of people who have successfully applied these principles. For impatience, develop a long-term perspective, appreciating each step of the journey. For comparison, redirect your focus to your own evolution, celebrating your unique growth. Always remember, your blocks are not part of you. They are just habits, neurological, and emotional patterns that can be reprogrammed with awareness and persistence. There's a force within you more powerful than any blockage. It is your natural essence of abundance, temporarily clouded by beliefs and habits that no longer serve your highest good. The science of getting rich is not a theory to be understood intellectually, but a practice to be lived daily. It is the integration of the principles of right thinking, right feeling, and right action into every moment of your existence. When this science becomes your natural way of being, prosperity flows to you as naturally as the sun shines. The A Certain Way morning ritual is a powerful practice for setting the vibratory tone of your day. Dedicate the first 15 to 20 minutes of each morning to consciously align yourself with the frequency of abundance before the world tries to tune you into other frequencies. Start with visualization. See vividly in your mind the prosperous life you are creating, not as a distant fantasy, but as an imminent reality. See the details, what your environment is like, what activities fill your day, how your body feels, what people are present in your life. Make this vision so real that all your senses are activated. Follow with deep gratitude. Allow your heart to expand with genuine appreciation for all that is already in your life and all that is on the way. Feel gratitude for the air you breathe, the body you inhabit, the opportunities you already have, and those that are forming in the field of possibilities. Conclude with inspired planning. Determine the specific actions you will take today that align with your larger vision, not from obligation or pressure, but from inspiration and enthusiasm. Ask yourself, what are the most powerful actions I can take today to advance my prosperity? Maintaining the correct frequency throughout the day, especially in challenging situations, is a skill that develops with practice. When faced with circumstances that seem to contradict your prosperity, remember, outward appearances are only the result of past causes. Your current internal state is creating your future. The present moment practice is a simple yet transformative technique for constantly realigning yourself with a certain way several times a day. Take a mindful 30-second pause. Breathe deeply. Ask yourself, am I thinking, feeling, and acting in abundance or in scarcity right now? If you notice misalignment, make the adjustment immediately. The true masters of this science live simply but abundantly. They do not flaunt wealth to impress others, nor are they constantly preoccupied with material acquisitions. Your prosperity is a natural expression of your internal alignment, not an external goal to be desperately pursued. There's a phenomenon I call invisible success, the period where you are perfectly applying the science, but the external results are not yet apparent. It is like the seed that is growing vigorously beneath the ground, invisible to the eye but full of vitality and purpose. During this time, many abandon the path, mistakenly concluding that it is not working. The wise understand that this is precisely the most crucial time to maintain your practice. When manifestation is closest, the greatest purpose of wealth is the expansion of life. Money itself is not the end goal, but a means to more fully express your gifts, serve more widely, experience more deeply. As Wattles wrote, the purpose of nature is the advancement and development of life, and every man should have everything that can contribute to the power, elegance, beauty, and richness of life. When your quest for prosperity is aligned with this greater purpose, the expansion of life in all its dimensions, you become a natural channel for abundance. You are no longer trying to get wealth. You are allowing wealth to flow through you for the benefit of all. The science of getting rich is not just about money. It's about living in harmony with the universal laws that govern all manifestation. It's about becoming a conscious participant in creating your reality, rather than a passive victim of circumstances. It's about expressing your true nature of unlimited abundance. The real transformation occurs the moment you decide to apply what you have learned. Knowledge without action is like a seed that is never planted. It contains potential but remains inert. Now is the time to plant the seeds of prosperity through the conscious application of the science of getting rich. To recap, the three forces that create your financial reality are right thinking, which sets the template for your prosperity, right feeling, which energizes this mold with manifesting power, and right action, which brings your vision to material reality. The contrast couldn't be clearer. Acting anyway leads to random and often disappointing results, like trying to get to a specific destination without a map, compass, or direction. Doing it the right way leads to predictable, satisfying results like following precise coordinates to buried treasure. The power to completely transform your financial reality is available to you right now, not at some future point when circumstances are different, not when you have more knowledge or better connections, but right now. The only variable that determines whether you will live in prosperity or scarcity is whether you apply science correctly or incorrectly. Decide now that you will apply science in a certain way. Make a non-negotiable commitment to yourself to align your thoughts, feelings, and actions with the laws of prosperity, not for a day or a week, but as a new way of life. The first concrete step is to simply start observing your thoughts. Become aware of the mental stories you are telling yourself about money, wealth, and your right to abundance. Don't judge what you find, just observe. Consciousness alone begins the process of transformation. This science never fails when applied correctly. If the results do not meet your expectations, it is not because the laws are flawed, but because your application of them has been incomplete or inconsistent. As Einstein observed, we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. For For different results, you must think, feel, and act differently in a certain way. You were not made to live in limitation. Your essential nature is unlimited abundance. The restrictions you experience are artificial, created by beliefs and habits that do not match the truth of who you really are. Now you know the path to liberation. Now you know the certain way. The rest is just up to you.